Oh, that's really essentially item number one. Item number two, inform the board that Franklin County has been contacted by U.S. Treasury, and we are undergoing a compliance review of our policies and procedures for handling grant funds directly from the U.S. Treasury related to Restore. I have provided the board a copy of my responses to the U.S. Treasury. At some point, Treasury representatives will come to Franklin County for a site visit. Since Franklin County rarely receives federal funds directly and never from the U.S. Treasury, I'm sure Treasury is going to request changes in a variety of areas. They're looking at policies and procedures to make sure that, funds are separated, and a lot of it's financial stuff. So it'll involve the clerk's office to some extent. Yes, yes, sir.
Oh, on this, you said it's the policy and stuff. Now, we haven't received no money from them, right?
No, not, well, we are receiving money to pay for Dewberry, but that's the
For
only money we're
Dewberry
receiving.
only.
Yes, yes.
And when is they ever said the timeline about the money with the county supposed to
Well,
receive?
the timeline is somewhat under our control in that we are, tonight, there's another Restore Advisory Council meeting where we'll be hopefully getting our hands on a point schedule, a point system for scoring projects, what Treasury recommended so that it is not biased towards any one project or other. They want you to go through a needs assessment, seeing what your community needs are. We've done that. Next, you then give an idea of a scoring system to meet those needs, and using 100 points is simple. So, on a 100-point scale, this is something we're going to talk about tonight. Maybe we all agree that 25 points are for environmental purposes, 25 points for this, and so we sort of agree on how projects will be scored before we see any projects. This is to be fair and unbiased. We create a scoring system first, and then hopefully get that done the next month, really. And then in May and June, we hope to be able to announce that we are accepting applications for projects to come in. The Restore Committee will look at those applications, rank them based upon the criteria we've already got, and then give them to you all. And I hope to have those to you September, October. We're hoping to have these things submitted to Treasury by November. And once Treasury gets them, hopefully, because we are not the first in the system, that we will know how to do it properly. Treasury will know what questions to ask of us. That hopefully, very shortly after we submit our multi-year implementation plan, which has projects in there, that Treasury will send, yes, now you can begin to spend the money. So I'm hoping that at the beginning of 2018, you all will be able to allocate funds for different projects to benefit the community. That's sort of the timeline. The longer we take in Restore Committee to get these issues resolved, the longer it is to get money down here. I've been sort of encouraging Restore, the local Restore Committee, let's try this. Let's move forward. Let's get through this process because we want to see some money here, and we can always go back and change our criteria if, in fact, we don't like the outcome. I mean, this is not. It's not fixed in stone. Not only can we change our criteria, as we have told the Restore Committee, we're only going to take the first several $1 million of money. Let's see what kind of projects we have. Let's see what sort of matching funds we have. Let's see what's going on. So we're not going to allocate all $23 million this go around. And all $23 million is not available to us anyway. We only have the money available to us as it comes in from payment from BP. We've got I think it's $4.3 million in there now. I'll just say $4 million from Transocean. And the BP money will be coming in at about $1.5 million a year over the next 15 years. So by 2018, we might have $7 million in total there. So that's probably the range of projects you're going to see on your multi-year plan, about $5 to $7 million, because that's the money that's available now. And then it's likely the community will see how well it goes, we'll see what we have, and then we'll do another version of the multi-year plan, or somebody will, it won't be me, in 2018 or 19, and do another section of money. Because you all had said you didn't want to allocate all the money all at one time, so the Restore Committee has taken that guidance to heart and will be allocating a small section of that to meet immediate needs and sort of get started in this process. But we hope to have this, we hope to be able to see things to you all in the fall of this year and get it to Treasury and get them to approve it. I will say this, while getting, Commissioner Lockley, getting the multi-year plan is a key component, it's not necessarily the largest component, because the next large share, and this is what Treasury is really looking at, Treasury is looking at Franklin County as if we are state government, as if we are going to allocate funds to smaller divisions of government, or to smaller groups, and that's what the multi-year plan does. We're going to take the money that we get, and then somebody's going to have a project, and maybe it's the city of Apalachicola, maybe the city of Carabel, maybe it's some nonprofit. But whoever gets that money to do their project, we, the county, are responsible to make sure that they follow all the federal laws. And so the federal government, the U.S. Treasury, is saying, well, Franklin County, you're really being elevated, in our opinion, to the level of the state, because the federal government usually gives money to the state, and the state handles local governments. This time, federal government's gonna give money to a local government, so they're treating us with the same sense of scale and scope that they make the states go through, and we are not prepared for that, I'll be honest with you. So we have to get geared up, but we also then have to make sure that the local governments or whoever gets that money to build that project is also competent. And that's gonna be a big challenge, because you may have people out here who have great ideas, but they don't have any experience in handling federal money. They don't have any safeguards in there to make sure the money is spent properly. And the federal government may say, well, that's a great idea, but that applicant there is not eligible. And that's gonna be another problem we'll just have to face. It may be that down the road, the county ends up doing some of these projects because the people who have the idea don't have the capability to implement the project. I mean, that's just something that's in the future, but
So this is not gonna be like you write them a check and that's it.
it is absolutely not gonna be that.
It's not gonna be that way.
No. In fact, it's gonna be, not only that not gonna write us a check, it's gonna be a reimbursement basis. So we better have faith on who's doing the project, because we're gonna put the money up front, and then we're gonna have to turn around to Treasury and get it back.
Who's gonna put the money up front?
Well, government somehow.
Where are we gonna get it from?
It's a reimbursement basis. Now, with some of this, we can go through we can get payment in advance if it's a really big project, but it's, all these things are reimbursement basis,
And then they gotta have matching funds.
and they have to have matching funds.
Okay, well, I mean, we all understand that. That's kinda what the board has said we wanted to do, but we also said we didn't want to expend all of this money because of what, who knows what's gonna change 10 years from now?
Right.
I mean, so say you got money in the bank, let's spend it. I think the board has pretty much said that that's not really what we want to do.
Right.
If it's a project that's going to benefit the community,
Right.
when I say community, I'm talking about Franklin County, across, that's what we were trying to work on to begin with, is doing projects such as an EOC or something that's going to benefit everybody. It not only benefits citizens of the county, it benefits municipalities, because they don't do EOCs. I mean, that's just one project and one example, but
To give you an example of how complicated this has been and how fearful all the local governments who are involved in this are, you are seeing a retraction from most of the small governments, I use Gulf County as an example, from having lots of projects on a multi-year plan to having just a few, because to manage these projects is so burdensome that the local governments are realizing this is going to be a problem trying to run these projects. So in fact, Gulf County, their first plan has one project, and that's Beach Renourishment Project. And that's the only thing they got on there. They have some other ones that are going to be funded later on that are sewer and water extension, but they have limited, I forget how many they had dozens, if not hundreds of applicants, and they finally wintered down like 5 projects, and that's all they're going to do. Because the administration of these projects is going to be, it's going to be a problem for small counties, small counties.
If we
Now
put
that-
the money up first, and we get reimbursement, can Treasury say, now we change our mind, we're not
No,
gonna approve?
no, well, I say that, I mean, who knows what they can do.
well, you can't do it to start with until they approve it.
Yeah, I mean, they're supposed to get their approval first.
But if it's not, as Alan is stating, if it's not followed, all procedures and protocol is not followed, they may say you didn't follow the program, they may not reimburse you.
And then we'll be out of money.
Well, we don't have no money is what I'm trying to tell you to even start these projects. So that's gonna be an issue there. But as Alan said, if it's a big project, you could get some money up front. But county ain't got no bunch of money to be, putting up to do these projects. If they do, I don't know nothing about it.
Now, that's just.
I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
So,
Sounds like we're not gonna get too much.
what it's
it's gonna
there,
be
it's got
fine.
our name on it, it's just how we do it and how we gotta make sure we follow protocol and procedure. We don't have a lot of staff to be doing that either, so we're gonna have to be careful, as we move forward and as we start doing projects. And it's also, the way I understand it, Alan, is a lot of these projects there ain't a bunch of money there for administrative and all this other stuff.
No, they're capped at 3%. That's why using Gulf County as an example, they have said, we're only gonna do 1 or 2 projects, because you cannot administer a bunch of projects when you're capped at 3%. This is too much
Yeah,
paperwork.
we don't have the staff, so
Well, that makes me happy. You know how I have a problem with administrative fees anyway, because the majority of administrative fees is like 7%. You know, so if you're doing a 3%, and just to reiterate what Smokey was saying, some people's mentality is, you got money in the bank, let's spend it. My mentality is, we got money in the bank, let's save it, and that's where I come from. So, it's gonna be hard to administer these programs, and everything. And bottom line is like Smokey said, oh, the county government can't be responsible for all of it because we're not gonna be able to do a reimbursable thing for everybody's project.
Maybe a few $100s or something.
I know.
I mean, you talking about $1 million projects, county ain't got no money for that. If they do, I don't know nothing about it. So we're gonna have to be very careful how we, as we move forward. Some of these people have approved projects, they may have to have their own money up front.
Well, they might have to use their matching first, is how you do it, and then get.
Yeah, okay, I see what you're saying. We do have the matching policy in there, but, okay, let's move on, because we got some things we gotta do here. We got a public hearing coming up pretty
All
quick.
right, so quickly, so we're working on that. We have a meeting tonight, and we're gonna work on the scoring system and try and move down the road on these. Number 3, inform the board that I continue the discussion with the consortium of consultants about an oyster recovery project for Apalachicola Bay. In some general comments, I have told the consultants that any oyster recovery project funded by some of Franklin County's consortium funds need to have matching funds. And so I've sort of challenged the consultants to see what they can come up with. Because if this is a project that's benefiting the Bay, it's also a state resource, and they need to put some state funds into this thing. So we are looking at what options that the EA consultants have, or ES consultants. So we're working on that. Item number 4, inform the board that I met with restore coordinators in Tampa on February 8th and talked about the structure of Triumph. This is ongoing discussion that's going on in the legislature as we speak. Mr. Warren Yeager from Gulf County had been hoping to get Triumph to allocate funds based upon a guaranteed share of each county. And when I wrote this Friday, apparently it was not going to happen, but I understand in yesterday's they agreed to put, at least one bill has a 4% minimum. So every county is going to be guaranteed 4% of the funds at some point in the delivery of those funds. So if there's $300 million coming to North Florida, those 8 counties, everybody will get at least $12 million if that bill passes.
That's Triumph Fund.
Triumph funds, yes. Now, Triumph it may be reserved for Franklin County, but we have to have a project that meets the criteria of Triumph, that has, creates enough economic jobs to make Triumph say it's a positive project. I mean, there are lots of criteria, but the one bill that's currently being debated in the legislature at least has a minimum of 4% as a minimum for each county.
Is that Trumbull's bill?
I believe it's a modified version of that, I believe.
It's a modified version? Need to be-
Actually, on this Triumph issue, it's coming before the House Committee on Thursday. And if the board would like, I was thinking about attending that on behalf of the board, on behalf of the people here.
I make a motion that we have the chairman attend the committee on the Triumph.
Second by, have a motion by Commissioner Sanders, second by Commissioner Lockley. Any further discussion? And there's 2 different bills that they're going to be discussing in this committee. I've talked to Warren, he's going to be there. I talked to Senator Mumford and got his take on it. When I seen this come across the computer yesterday, I wanted to see what his take was. He answered. And he is in the affirmative. Actually, he's wanting to see a representative, 2 representatives added to that Triumph board from the 3 counties of Gulf, Franklin, and Wakulla. So he along with Senator Gaynor and some others are pushing to get some local representative from these rural communities that can participate in Triumph. All your representatives on the Triumph board right now from Bay County West. So there's a push to get some local representation from these 3 rural counties that also can participate. So there's some movement going on there, so I thought it would be advantageous if I attend those meetings and give them some support.
Well, Mr. Chairman, that was one of my concerns, is we did not have representation east of really Bay County. And that was one of them. And the other issue is, so you'll know what my issue is, on the one bill with Trumbull, there's some economic stuff that I don't feel like will be good for the county. So how that works out, I don't know. I mean, some parts of Gaynor's bill is good, some parts of Trumbull's bill is good, some of it's bad. I hope in conference committee that they can come together and work that out, because I'm gonna tell you something, that economic side of it, I was not pleased with that. So let's just see what happens.
I explained to the legislative, Senator Mumford particularly, when I talked to him yesterday, that we want to participate in Triumph, and I told him about the 3 studies that are going on right now currently. But it's going to take us longer to get to shovel-ready projects in the bigger counties that have more staff that are working on this thing 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. We don't have the staff to do that. So our local county government here, we're a little bit handicapped by the amount of resources that we have. So it may take us a little bit longer to get to the end of the road. That don't mean that we're not going down the road and we want to get to the end. So as Alice stated, having a 4% count, or 4%, at least a guaranteed 4%, coming to these different counties. We're gonna be a little slower getting there than these bigger counties. That doesn't mean we don't need the help, and that doesn't mean that we're not gonna be applying, so. That was kind of my comments, and, Senator Monk agreed with me, and he wholeheartedly was, wanting to get these representatives added to that Triumph board.
Let me ask you a question. On that, is we gonna have to put up money on that too? In the trial?
Yeah, this is the quote that came from Senator Gates 2 years ago. Triumph funds are not going to be the first dollars, Triumph funds are not going to be the only dollars. So if you want to get a project funded, you have to come with some matching money.
So we
Now,
would have to take some of our monies to match.
It could be private enterprise though, Commissioners.
It could be.
You could have somebody come in here, you know, who has the matching money for us, but yes, there needs to be other money associated.
Okay, let's move forward,
All
Alan.
right, last item is, I just want to let you know that, and I should have said this when DOT was here, and Clay Smallwood may know about this. The DOT is becoming more and more restrictive on having a county engineering firm handle both the design and the construction engineering of Scrap and Scott now. They're restricting that, so you may see us having to go out for bid. We have Dewberry doing the engineering part, but we're going to have to get probably on most of these projects now, get somebody else to do the construction inspection.
Did we have to do that with Alligator Point, Ball Point Road?
You had to do it with one of the projects, and now apparently they're spreading to the other.
Now it's just gonna be commonplace.
Yes.
Okay. We do have a public hearing scheduled for 11 o'clock.
Commissioner, what I'm going to do, I need to take up, Shane is sick, so I got to take the podium down to where Representative Dunn is going to be. So Amy's going to come in and do the public hearing with you, and then I'm going to leave my report with Alan, and he could do my report, okay?
All right.
Or I can take the podium down there. Either. I'll take the podium down.
Okay.
Do we need to vote?
Yeah, it's unlocked.
In the first and second, did you go and do we need to vote on that, or doesn't matter?
Have we got a, Rory, do we have a vote hanging out?
We have not.
Okay. That was on me going on Thursday to
I made a motion.
The House
Motion by
Committee.
Commissioner Sanders, second by Commissioner Lockwood.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. We're gonna have to deviate from the agenda and go into a public hearing. Amy's gonna conduct the public hearing.
Hey,
Your show.
okey dokey. Mr. Vance Millender came before the Planning and Zoning Commission in December concerning a 40-acre tract that he wanted to rezone from A2 forestry agricultural, which allows 1 unit per 40 acres, to a rural residential R6, which allows 1 unit per 10 acres. In doing so, he meets all the requirements. There's other properties in the area that has the same zoning, and he'll have 4 10-acre tracts. It's not very big. So his request is to have a rezoning and land use change.
If the board remembers, we looked at this a while back and scheduled this public hearing, or authorized the attorney to schedule a public hearing on this issue.
Yes. Amy, the properties in question are the ones in yellow.
Yes. It is not to scale. I did, Mark didn't, but it's in that general vicinity,
Okay.
and it's very close.
All right, this is a public hearing. Public comment, please raise your hand to be recognized. Please come forward and state your name for the record. We got one gentleman behind you, and then we will recognize you.
Hello, my name is Art Hool. My wife Jane and I own the land immediately adjacent to this piece of property. I looked through the county records and I noticed that moving to residential designation means one property per, one home per 10 acres. But the substatement is that you can reallocate that so you can have common land and squeeze the houses down to one home per acre. We own the adjacent land to this, a 7-acre piece right on the water.
Do you know, Excuse me, sir,
Yes, sir.
excuse me. Attorney, do you understand what he's,
Not exactly, Mr. Chairman. It sounds like you may be talking about a potential cluster, because you do have a special provision in your subdivision ordinance that allows you to cluster your units, but it would not be increasing the density. You simply take, under your clustering ordinance, you can have a lot that is a minimum of 15,000 square feet, and then the remainder of the property would be put into green space and would become unbuildable. That sounds like what the gentleman.
That's
may-
exactly what I'm
may be
speaking of.
Referring to, but that is also the clustering provision in your subdivision ordinance is one that has been used repetitively since 1989,
Right.
1990, since y'all adopted that.
but if I understand this, the gentleman in question here that's applying for rezoning, he has 40 acres. He can only have 4 houses on those 40 acres. If the board so desires to give him 1 house per 10 acres.
That's correct.
So,
Yeah, and my-
your interpretation was he could have a house per acre? That's not true.
Well,
That's
I
not
can
true.
read that from, I can read that from the county document.
The attorney here just tried to explain there is a clustering mechanism.
Yes, a
But he
cluster.
cannot have more than 4 houses on 40 acres.
No, I agree with that.
Okay.
I understand.
I understood you say he could have a house per acre.
No.
No.
He could have, on the 40 acres, he can put up to 4 houses in the land immediately adjacent to us, and that's my concern. The approximately 5 acres immediately adjacent to our 7 acres, okay? It's possible for him to place,
The riverside? Is it on the riverside?
yes, on the riverside.
Okay. Well, our zoning ordinance requires minimum lot widths, and with the lot width regulations, his property is narrow, so it would really only allow him to build 2 houses on the riverside if they chose to build over there.
Okay.
Because they're required to have at least 100 foot in width and depth in order to build over there. And then they would have to meet all the regulations of setbacks, septic and well, and all of that. So, and that's just a choice if they decide to build over there. They may decide to build on the property across the street.
Well, of course, but we all know that the best way to maximize his dollar potential on that land is to develop maximum houses on the river. And again, this is taking our immediate neighborhood and changing the density. And so I just want to say that you asked for comment. I'm opposed to this because I purchased land thinking that I was getting rural land with rural neighbors. I've been paying my taxes and taking care to build this land properly, and now there's a change. And so I want to be on record for opposing that, and I don't know Mr. Millender, so this is not a personal thing, and I wish him the best, but I just want to say that I think for my land, that's a bad move. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other public comments, please come forward, state your name for the record.
Commissioners, just for procedural clarity, what you're dealing with this morning in this public hearing are only 2 issues. Your consideration for the rezoning of the land and then the land use change. What the gentleman was referring to is more of a platting issue or a development application issue. And there are
Which
no
has to come
development-
back.
There's no development application before us. And so I just want to make sure we're clear on, you're only here for those 2 issues.
Okay.
But also, they're not required to plat the property because the density and the acreage, they have over the 5 acre requirement, and the density is only 4 houses, potential houses.
Under the current zoning request that he's presented. Right? If he's granted this zoning request, then that's what he's going to be allowed.
Yes, sir.
That's good.
He would have to, have Roddenberry or Brown, I think Roddenberry's the one that did the survey. He would have to split them up into 10 equal tracts, and that would all, that would be the end of it. They wouldn't have to come back for a plat.
Okay. Please state your name for the record.
Mel Kelly from Carabel, and I will disregard what I was going to say because I will look forward to the preliminary plat process that I know is necessary. The only thing I will say is I ask you to proceed cautiously with this action at this time. Land use in our fragile waterfront county has been an issue for many years. Please consider this carefully. I am an adjacent property owner in Hickory Hammock, so I am also affected by this. I am very concerned. One of the proposals that I understood was made was 4 docks on the riverfront, plus accessory structures. We all know that accessory structures can sometimes take on a life of their own, and that is of concern in density. But I look forward to the next chapter of this, and I do not object to the rezoning. And I thank you for your time.
Any other public comment? Any other public comment? Come forward, state your name for the record.
Is this only on this subject, or?
Yes, ma'am. Any other public comments on this rezoning request? There being no further public comment?
Now, I'll just give the board some additional procedural advice. If you choose to approve this, your first motion would be a motion to approve the land use change. And then the second motion, if that passes, would be the motion to rezone the property.
He asked,
Go ahead.
what he asking for is, he gonna split up the 4 acre, right?
Yes, sir, into
10 acre tract.
to 4 10-acre tracts.
Okay, and most of them out there 10 acre now anyway.
There's, it's mostly A2, which is 1 unit per 40 acres, but there's also, if you notice, there's R6, there's several properties in here that's R6. All of these properties that's kind of hashed out into the A2 are already R6, which is 1 unit per 10 acres. So he's really just asking for the same as the others in the area.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, please.
Amy, on the Riverside front, how many acres is on the Riverside front? Probably gonna be the, like,
4.72 acres.
4.72 acres.
But the width of the property would only allow for 2 houses and a common
I
area for
wouldn't
the
even
other
say you
2.
could have 2 there because the width of it, y'all ever been down there and looked at it? You're gonna be limited what you get anyway.
Yes.
And our job here today is to whether we're gonna rezone it from ag to R6 and rural residential. And that's what the question is today.
We're not really addressing anything plat or houses. There's concerns that planning and zoning and other constituents had about building on the river. He's really only asking for a rezoning and land use.
Well,
To split it up, he would have to make it where it would be, meet all the regulations to build over there.
Well, and let me give you a little history on this to where everybody, because we've got a new commissioner on here. The Hickory Hammock area was 1 per 40. That's what our rules in the county said, 1 per 40. Nothing no less than 1 per 40. Well, we had a lot of people that came out here and bought this land. The majority of the land, Commissioner Jones, is you got one big piece on one side of the road and one little piece over here. So, it's pretty limited on what you can do. Well, we had a lot of the families come in here that bought the property, that wanted the kids to be able to live on the land too. And that's the reason why we made up this designation to where they could go in and they could get, let's say they had 3 kids. Well, they got a 10-acre parcel and each one of their kids got a 10-acre parcel. So that way they were guaranteed to be a family unit. And that's what it's basically made up for. And since then, we've done a lot of other things. I mean, you know, I think Mr. Miller has got a lot of kin folks that he could probably want to have stay up there, live up there. But I don't see denying him any other use than what we give everybody else. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, ma'am.
And all that. So if the board does not have any more questions about it, I'm gonna go ahead and do a motion to do the land use from, go ahead, Amy, because I'm trying to get it in here.
It's A2 forestry agriculture
Yes, ma'am, that's
to
my motion.
R6 rural residential.
That's my motion.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Sanders, second by Commissioner Lockley to approve the land use change. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries.